Rabbi Manis Friedman. Hello, thank God it's Tuesday. We're living the times again. We didn't even have much of a break in the 80 years that we had to sort of kind of think that anti-Semitism is not on a high as it was, and it's becoming crazy all over again. It's everywhere. I mean, what happened in the airport in Makhachkala this Sunday, we saw people running out and really seeking out to get the Jews, kill the Jews. We're seeing protests all over Europe. We're seeing students being threatened in colleges, and it's becoming too much of a reality again. So please, what do we do? How do we treat it? It's happening all over again, and it's very scary. And I know I speak for everybody, because anybody I speak to, we're appalled that it's here again. And how scary is it going to get? We don't know. Please give us some wisdom that we can count on.
Make it sound good.
Yes, please, if you can, if it's possible.
Well, one good thing, very important good thing, is we're not caught by surprise. 80 years ago, we had no idea. We couldn't even imagine what we were facing for a very long time. Today, we know exactly, and we can see the pictures. And that's a benefit to the world also, not just to us. The good people of the world 80 years ago had no idea what was going on. And even when they heard, they couldn't believe. Today, everybody knows, everybody believes, everybody sees it. So you have to be really, truly evil to take the side of Hamas. Or the vast majority of decent human beings, they see what's going on. It's not like 80 years ago. And we're not alone in the world like we were then. And the evil is not hiding like it did then. So those are the advantages. It makes things better for us now than it was then. On the other hand, the evil is worse. The chutzpah, the arrogance of the evil, is greater now than it was then. And the additional element of religion, doing what they did in the name of God, that is unspeakably worse. At least the Nazis didn't say God is on their side. They didn't add blasphemy to the ugliness and to the violence. So I don't know if we talked about this last week, but the world is in big trouble. Not the Jewish people. The Jewish people are feeling a lot of pain, but we're not the ones in trouble. The world is in trouble because the two major sources for morality and sanity have failed. The people most disturbed, most misguided, and most wicked are the religions and the higher education. That's really scary. Where is morality going to come from if the religions are corrupt and higher education is corrupt? Who are the pro-Hamas people? College campuses, professors, and religious leaders. So this evil is being committed in the name of religion and in the name of liberal philosophy. It's so clear. How can anybody be confused today? Right? 2 years ago, we didn't know who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. COVID. Who's telling you the truth? Who's lying to you? We didn't know. Now, what don't we know? It's so, we were talking about the good will come out and be clear, and the evil will come out and be clear. You can't make it any more clear than it is today. The ugly is its ugliest, and the good is unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you hear the parents of these hostages, do you hear how they speak? This mother whose daughter was just released, they're amazing. The goodness, the holiness, the strength, unbelievable. I think just a few years ago, anyone who suffered that kind of tragedy would be hiding in a basement someplace, depressed and afraid to face the world. They would withdraw. That was the normal thing to do. They're not withdrawing. They're coming in front of the cameras, and they're going online, and they're speaking into the microphone, and they're saying amazing things. I wish the politicians would say what these mothers are saying. We would have a much better world.
Rabbi Friedman, it's true. I do see where people are turning to, and this is very much due to the internet. We do see that the soldiers, before they go into fighting, they pray. We see that the mother of the victim who was released, she was baking challah a week before, praying for her daughter.
The day before.
The day before. I thought it was a week before. Thank you. And of course, we see everything. We see that the soldiers have absolutely no one else to rely on but God. Before every battle, before everything, their entire message to the world is, please pray. Please pray. And this is what everybody is doing. And maybe it's still a little bit strange for a lot of secular people who have never done so. But I have to say that right now, I feel a little bit sorry for the secular people, because the fear that I see in their eyes is a lot worse than we're all scared. But those who have known the truth and understood who we can rely on, the only source of life, we're a little less scared. We're a lot more trusting. And the only thing is, the biggest question is, are we doing enough to tip the scale right now? Are everybody getting on board fast enough? Those who have been lost, who have been in Golos, who have been in exile, as we say it, who did not have the education, the proper Jewish education of any kind to understand how things work. Are they getting on board fast enough for us to tip the scale? And are we tipping the scale?
Every day it increases. So if we haven't tipped the scale today, it will certainly be tipped by tomorrow. It's amazingly positive. Everybody. I don't know if you remember, we were talking about the protests before this event. The protests in the streets of Tel Aviv, and the big divide between and I was saying that it doesn't take much to bring peace. All you need is the secular should admit to one mistake that they're making, and the religious should admit one mistake they're making. That's not terribly painful. If you can admit one detail, one mistake, there can be peace. It's the extremism. We are all good and you're not. You're not all good. Admit you made a mistake. What is the mistake that the secular made? Well, they're not getting married. They're not having children. There are no families. This is a mistake. Come on, you got to admit that. Maybe your philosophy is fine and your liberalism is fine, but nobody is going to inherit this? You made yourself sterile. It's a mistake. The religious should admit that the reason there are so many people who are not religious is because they turned them off. You did nothing to encourage more observance. You condemned and you condemned and you called names. You didn't do anything. Can you admit that? Come on. It's so obvious. This is exactly what's happening now. The secular are admitting that as a social experiment, it's been a disaster. There's no future for secular life. And the religious now realize that the soldiers they look down at are their heroes. Never heard Haredi rabbis speak so glowingly of every soldier. And now they want to run out and make barbecues for the soldiers. It's beautiful. Will it last? A large part of it will definitely last, because this is a real shift in thinking and in beliefs and in policies. The people are becoming so much better than the leaders. That is such good news. Because if it comes from the leaders, it's always temporary. You get a new leader, everything changes. But when the people change, then the leaders have to change, because these leaders of today follow the popular vote. So if the people change, the government changes. People change for the better, the government is going to have to keep up.
Rabbi Friedman, but a lot of people also don't know how to react to other Jewish people right now who are so still pro-Palestine. They go to the Capitol Hill. It's really an insurrection that nobody is calling an insurrection, but there are gatherings at the Grand Central Terminal on Friday, I believe it was. There was a walk through Brooklyn Bridge and a gathering at the Brooklyn Museum. Let's flood Brooklyn for Gaza. And you see so many Jewish people taking a part in it. And even some people are confused because Neturei Carter is also a part of this movement. Also confusing people, they're very active against Israel. And people ask questions because people do not know. They don't know, what is this? Why are Jews against Jews? Why are Jews taking a different side and not uniting at the time when we should be uniting? So this part of it, it's not total unity yet. It's still this
outside of Israel.
Only outside of Israel?
Well, I'm sure there are some in Israel that are still stubborn and can't seem to let go. It's like a shark. The shark, when it bites into something, it can't let go. So let's understand a little bit, to give the people a little benefit of the doubt. It's happened before in history. This is nothing new. We've been there so many times, all the way back to the time of Hanukkah. There is this belief that we can't seem to shake. If you take the side of the enemy, then you will become their friends, and while everybody else might suffer, you won't. So the need to feel safe is driving these Jews who are trying to ingratiate themselves with the Palestinians. It's like saying, we're not like those bad enemy you have. We're the good Jews. We've done this so many times. In the times of Hanukkah, the Jews who became Greek. In World War II, the Jews who became German, thinking that's going to save us. That's going to make us the lovable Jew. It's so sad and so desperate. So they're not doing it to be spiteful or out of hatred. They're panicked. And they think this is going to save them by becoming more pro-Palestinian than the Palestinians. Same mistake over and over. It has never worked. Why are you trying again? So it's very sad. But I also feel very bad for the secular because there's so much embarrassment. They realize it was so wrong. Anyone who ever thought a two-state solution, they're so embarrassed now. I was urging Israel to make peace with cannibals? So sorry. I blamed Israel for not making peace with these people? So embarrassed. How could I have been so wrong? How could I be so blind? Most people have no idea. Those who are protesting and waving flags and screaming righteousness, they have no idea who the Palestinians are. They have no idea who Hamas is. They have no idea what anti-Semitism means. They're so innocent. They're so ignorant. They mean well. But now they're so embarrassed. We're all embarrassed, by the way. The religious are not?
Yeah, we are. We're all embarrassed. It's true. But it's not only the innocent people that have this position. There are also countries and leaders that have the same position. I mean, take Turkey. Take, to an extent, Russia at this point. Turkey, full on. We are still having the Associated Press, which is like the most important, the most prominent media news outlet out there, who played a big part during Holocaust as well. For those who know, maybe not everybody knows that, but they are the only ones who were able to be in and give the news about what the Nazis were doing during Holocaust. No other outside of Germany news organization was able to do that, and they're kind of doing the same thing now. They're not calling Hamas terrorists. It's a military group. I mean, and Turkey, full on, also not calling them a terrorist organization, and Russia is trying to kind of smooth things out. Again, not as much as Turkey, but also taking that kind of a position. So those people are not innocent. Those people are not oblivious. How do we deal with that? Because of this position, what happened in Russia on Sunday in Dagestan, in the airport, I mean, it was crazy. Anybody who saw that footage were normal looking people in masses broke into the airport looking for Jews. What were they going to do with those Jews? They were going to prosecute them? They were going to talk to them? No, they looked like they were going to rip them apart. They were vicious. It was really, really scary to see. I don't know. I've got a lot to say, Rabbi Friedman. Better you than me.
They were going to put on film with them. That's what they were looking for. Yeah. By the way, how many of them were Muslims?
I would not know that. Probably everybody.
Almost. So it's the same people. It's not Russians are bad and the Turks. They're the same people, but they're everywhere. And that was part of their strategy. Create cells of terrorists all over the world, so that at a moment they could make an announcement, a day of rage, and everybody everywhere, but it's the same people. And, we're critical of Jews. Why are you trying the same thing you've tried so many times? You know it doesn't work. Stop already, yeah? We have the same question with the non-Jewish world. You've tried so many times to get rid of the Jewish people outside of Israel, inside of Israel. It makes no difference. And every time you think you're going to succeed, you can't learn from history? What makes you think that now, Pare failed, and Babylonia failed, and Rome failed, and Turkey failed? No, but you're going to succeed. Particularly Iran. It's so amazing. You tried before, and you gave us a new holiday called Purim. What do you think? This time you're better? This time you're going to succeed? How can you be so ignorant of reality? You're not going to succeed. The Jewish people aren't going anywhere. Don't you know this by now? It's so really our concern should be, after we get rid of Hamas, and of course we will, then what? What about the rest of the world? Not the rest of the terrorists that are spread out all over the world, but the host countries. So there was a story in England. Somebody said something, and they beat him up. The government beat him up and put him in jail. Where is more of that? Why are the countries not defending themselves, not defending Jews? All these countries, why don't they defend themselves against the terrorists in their country? It's going to happen.
Rabbi Friedman, but we don't even have to go far. I mean, it was appalling to have a rally, Let's Flood Brooklyn for Gaza. And it was allowed. And it was the Brooklyn Museum, which is 5-minute walk to Crown Heights, on Shabbat. We're seeing that everywhere. That is the scary part. If we knew that they had our backs, but we know they don't. And I don't know if we should even count on that. That is basically what I want to talk about the most. I mean, what do we do now? Because it's not like, oh, this is wrong and we're going to stand by you. Sort of, yes. Sort of, we'll send the police, so make sure that you don't get hurt. But we're still allowing this to take place, which is kind of how things happen. And we know that things can take a turn any which way, anytime. We've been there before. And so we're kind of right now, I feel like on the cusp of things, and it can go either way. So is there anything that we can do to, again, tip the scale, protect, shift, what should we be doing now? We haven't forgotten how it goes.
I don't like the idea of everyone carrying a gun. I don't think it's going to make us any safer, and it'll create also new problems. That's not the solution. But we have learned at least one lesson. We can't rely on anybody. That mistake we're not going to make again. The reason we are here is because we have an incredible relationship with the Creator of the world, and that's what we can trust and rely on. Nobody else. Nobody. So yes, we have to be moral and expect morality from the nations in which we live, but depend on them? We don't depend on them. Anyone with a little intelligence knows, no, we don't depend. We are critical of their lack of morality, and we're worried what the terrorists are going to do to them, because we're not the only target. So we have to demand morality like in any other issue. Abortion on demand, we have to say no. Not to protect us, but because morality is for everybody. All nations, all people have to be moral according to God's rules. And abortion on demand? No. Wrong, not good, shouldn't do it. Same thing here. It's not self-defense. It's a demand for moral clarity and moral behavior. It's like we were saying the other week. We're calling this a war against Hamas. It's not a war. There are no two sides. There are criminals who committed crimes. So who do you call? The police. Only we don't have enough police, so we have to use the army. But it's a police action, not a military operation. Calling it a military operation is giving it too much dignity. People committed a crime and they need to be punished. That's not a war. So, should we panic? Absolutely not. Should we be responsible and do whatever we can? Somebody asked me just last night. She doesn't know what to do. She wants to put a second lock on her door. But isn't that a sign that she has no trust in God? She wants to trust God, but she wants to have a lock on the door. We don't trust in a lock on the door. Every door has a lock. So, in all the issues, in all the settlement, the communities where the massacre took place, they had locks on their doors. So what? Of course you don't trust the lock. But the responsible thing to do is to put a lock. So put a lock and trust in God. That's how it works. Not don't put on the lock. It's not like if you're not feeling well, trust God, He'll heal you. No, you go to a doctor. You go to the doctor and trust that God will heal you and protect you from the doctor. It's not a contradiction. We have to be responsible because we're not allowed to put ourselves in danger. It's a commandment. Ushmartem es nafshei seichem. You're not allowed to go in a dangerous place. Like you're not allowed to walk across a bridge that is shaky, that is not solid. It's a dangerous thing to do. You're not allowed to do it. Why don't you just trust in God and go? Because God said don't do that. So it's not a lack of trust. You're obeying God. So God says, be responsible, do what you do to be safe, and the rest leave up to me. That's good. So should you put another lock on the door? If it helps you sleep at night, sure. It's better than a sleeping pill. But of course your trust is in God. So should we have America on our side? And of course. Well, you trust in that? No, you don't trust in that. It's like in God we trust is on the dollar bill. Well, if you trust in God, why do you need a dollar? A dollar is good. So have a dollar and trust in God. Have a lot of dollars and trust in God.
Rabbi Friedman, you know, what I also started to hear from a lot of people out there, I mean, we live in a country, and all countries now are like that, I think, except Japan, that have a lot of Muslim people. And we don't want to walk around thinking that every Muslim person, you know, has it in for us, because really a lot don't. And I hope most don't. I don't know how this works. But right now, it seems that there is a solidarity on, you know, each one of the sides. And of course, you know, each one feels their own much closer. So a lot of people are saying that they don't feel safe even just walking the streets anymore, because things are being said. Okay, thank God nothing is being done, really. I mean, it's not, but people are feeling it. And we know we can't, you know, if we feel it, then it's there. And a lot of people see a different way of people looking at them, you know, the way we look at each other. I mean, you know, if we're weary, then there's a reason for it. Then it's coming from both sides. So how should we just act in our everyday life? Because we've been living among Muslim people in all countries, and it's been okay for a lot of the times, thank God. And what, now we have to see each other as enemies and, you know, cross the street? Or how do we do it now?
I don't remember what we spoke about last week, but one of the things we need to know, not preach to others, just for ourselves. We don't want to kill civilians. It's true. And we shouldn't. Jewishly, not because of the Geneva Conference. It's a Jewish value, it's in the Torah, that you don't kill civilians. But let's not be naive and immature. What is a civilian? Anyone who's not wearing an army uniform is a civilian. That's ridiculous. In fighting a war, there are those wearing uniforms, and there are those who are not wearing uniforms, who are even more dangerous, because they're sitting in some room making plans and looking at maps. And so the uniform is not the way to identify the soldier. So what is a civilian? This is so necessary. So we have no intentions of killing civilians. So if we see somebody carrying a sign saying civilian, we won't shoot him. If he's not carrying a sign, how are we supposed to know he's a civilian? Here's a very simple, logical, moral question. I'm committed to not killing civilians. Is it my responsibility to identify civilians? I'm supposed to check it out to see who is and who isn't a civilian? That's crazy. That's nonsense. I won't shoot a civilian if the civilian tells me he's a civilian. It's not my responsibility to identify the civilian. It's the responsibility of the civilian or the government to identify who their civilians are. In Egypt, when there was the plague of the firstborn, God told us to make a sign on our door. That way you're announcing that you're a civilian. So in Jewish law, who is a civilian? Someone who carries a white flag. If they surrender, they're civilians. If they don't surrender, how am I supposed to know? And don't make it my responsibility to go through everybody's history and everybody's thinking and everybody's intentions, and I have to identify the civilian? No. Identify yourself and we won't shoot you. If you don't identify yourself, then you're not a civilian. It's just so logical, simple, and moral. The person who says, can I just get out of here and leave the country? That's a civilian. Don't kill him, let him leave. But if he's standing there, not leaving and not surrendering, do I know whether he's a civilian? See, the same is true outside of Israel. We don't want to treat all Muslims, right? Because there are the good Muslims. How are we supposed to know? It's my responsibility to identify and select out those who are good Muslims? No, it's not my job. The good Muslims should identify themselves. Raise your hand and say, I'm the good Muslim. If you're waving the Palestinian flag, I don't know what that means. Show a sign that makes you different and we'll be best friends. But it's not my job or my responsibility. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all that the real change, the real solution to this whole problem will come from Muslims. From the good Muslims. Would not be surprised.
That would be Mashiach, I guess.
Yes, it would. It would. Mashiach means the evil itself corrects itself. We don't have to shoot it. I don't think Hamas is going to do it. But someplace in the Muslim world, that's where the solution is going to come from. And then it's a thorough, long-lasting solution.
Rabbi Friedman, amazing. And I just wish that, because now those who are seeking the good can really, really see the good. I mean, but unfortunately, it's still kind of closed off to the world. It's you can see it in the Jewish community. Everybody who is on the right groups in WhatsApp, on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media that are sharing all the goodness and positivity and love and unity, and really there's absolutely no negativity there. There's only support, and it's beautiful, and we see it, but unfortunately the rest of the world does not see it yet. And it would be just so amazing to be able to share it, and I know we probably shouldn't care about the rest of the world loving us, but it kind of would be nice if they saw that good and real goodness, the real goodness that Jewish people have, and how we're willing to share it. It would be just so amazing to be able to open up the world's eyes to it, and we haven't done so just yet. any suggestions of how to maybe speed that process up?
By being more openly Jewish, not by hiding. Hiding means you're surrendering, you're retreating. It's not a good sign. We have to be more proud, more confident, more public, more confident not only in ourselves, more confident that there is good out there, that there is good in people, and when they see what is right, they will recognize it. If you don't trust that, then there's nobody to talk to.
Rabbi Friedman, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for another extremely important, timely, and wise conversation, which I hope did a lot of good and going to continue doing a lot of good on social media for those who will listen to this conversation, because it's important, it's empowering, and it gives confidence, and it gives wisdom of how to be in a time like this, whatever it is.
In a time like this, we have to be very careful what we say. Somebody called me yesterday and said that some teacher or some rabbi told her that the reason this happened, this whole massacre, because we don't get along in Israel. Is there anything more horrifying than that statement? First of all, how can you blame the victim? When will that stop already? Number two, that's your sense of justice? We don't get along. We disagree about democracy and whether the Supreme Court should, and for this we deserve? What in the world are you saying? How twisted can your thinking be? Thirdly, you're telling the whole world, the enemy is listening, and you're telling the enemy that they're right and we... Whoever says things like that, they got to spend the rest of their life doing tshuva. And hopefully that'll be enough. It is so criminal to make statements like that. It's anti-Semitism. Of course it's true, because we were divided and the government was shaky, it encouraged the enemy to attack us. Of course. If you show weakness, but it's a punishment we deserve? How can you be so crazy? How can you be so crazy? So now I understand, by the splitting of the sea, the Torah says that God told Moshe, I will fight the battle for you, and you be silent. And I always wondered, what is the need for the silence? If God is fighting the battle, then we should sing and dance and thank him and praise him. No, just be quiet. I think that's directed at the politicians and the rabbis. Just be quiet. Don't say stupid things. Don't embarrass yourself, and don't embarrass the Jewish people. Be quiet. Try. I know it's hard. Stop making speeches. When the war is over, when you finished getting rid of Hamas, when the entire Arab world says, okay, that's it. Jews are here, Israel is here, we're not going anywhere. We tried for 70 years to get rid of you. It's failing, we quit. We're not trying anymore. When that happens, then the politicians should get up and make speeches. But until then, just don't. Be quiet. Don't keep embarrassing us by saying we have a right to defend ourselves. It's so embarrassing when you say that. What is this, kindergarten?
Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. Thank you for the great advice on so many different aspects today. And thank you for this time that you allocate for us. And thank you for the daily wisdom that you give to the whole world on your YouTube channel and through your books and lectures and everything that you do. And thank you so much. And we very much look forward to maybe discussing some good news next week.
The good news is definitely coming. Right? We started off this year after Rosh Hashanah on a right foot. This was going to be the best year, the greatest year. It will be. Now it has to be.
Has to be. And Rabbi Friedman, we trust you more than anybody. So thank you so much. We will definitely end on this extremely positive note. And thank you so much. And looking forward to discussing the best news possible a week from today. Thank you so much. Be well.